Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown and another edition of Court Call with Ronnie Nunn. And as we all know, Ronnie had spent 27 years in the NBA, 19 as an official on the court, then 8 years in administration, of which 5 was the director of officials. So Ronnie, I'm glad you can jump in here with us today to talk about what everyone is talking about, the Draymond Green flagrant foul assessed after the fact. So you had a chance to look at this play. We saw it live. It has direct implications on the game tonight. So what are your thoughts about how that play initially unfolded?
Well, Coach, glad to be involved in this. This was an unfortunate situation about officiating something a little too late. We end up getting the call during this sequence at the end with the shot with the double foul. I mean, the official recognizes right away there's a conflict between two guys on this semi-screen and roll or what have you at the top. And then all of a sudden you get LeBron flailing after the two guys grasp each other. Now, if you wanted something then, you have a double foul. But as soon as you see the throw-off or the flail, you got to address that. Player goes to the ground and makes it very obvious. Semi-flop, maybe. But there's something you have to address, and that would be a foul against LeBron. Well, as obviously the play does unfold, it gets uglier. Guy steps over him, then of course Draymond throws his arm. Our officiating staff did not respond to this. This crew did not respond to this action, and I think it's a philosophical thing of wanting to be judicious and not wanting to take the game away from the players. And all of this stuff, you just can't officiate basketball like that, particularly any longer in our game. There are too many things are on camera that are clear, and you've got to try to catch up with a mechanical object like the camera. Humans can never do it, but things like this that are overt have to be addressed.
So have you ever seen it where, okay, it wasn't addressed, and yet they now square off at each other, and they're yelling at each other in the middle of the play? It was kind of startling to see. And by the way, the ref had ran over, and now he's watching this, and they square off. I can't believe that he wouldn't have called anything with 2:47 to go and let them play on. The whole thing was really just bizarre, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think it was not only maybe bizarre, I think it was just unfortunate. There was a sense of trying to let things ungrasp themselves, so to speak, hoping that the players will release from each other, from this whole sequence, hoping that they would recognize that they got away with one thing, one got away with another thing, and maybe the whole thing would disappear. But as they got to the rebounding stage, I mean, the double foul was something finally that they had to whistle. Was it a true double foul? You know, double fouls are usually, it's tough to get a double foul. One thing usually occurs before the other. But, and you try to stay away from double fouls. But I think it was just a last chance gas to get something in the tank there and call a double foul. So what's unfortunate about this whole thing is the hesitancy, the waiting to think something's going to happen right out of something that is rooted in wrong, so to speak.
I hear you. Now, here's the weird thing to me also is that they can now go and assess an upgrade, a no call, right? There was no call made there, and yet they're going to come in there and say it was a flagrant because of the contact of the groin. That is extremely strange to me as well. That said, there is contact. It does appear. Did it appear to you that it was intentional?
Yeah, I thought it was a flail, at a certain vulnerable part of the body, which is the problem, just like the flail that LeBron had. It was sort of like a give-back flailing that was intentional, as the flailing of LeBron early on was intentional when they knocked him to the ground. So when he flailed him to the ground. So I would just say that, meanwhile, flagrants, from the office point of view, can be assessed even though the officials didn't assess it in the game. This is the first time I've ever seen a technical rise out of a game to where the office is going to assess a technical foul, because sometimes that happens on an altercation, and I think they probably put it all under the umbrella of an altercation that was not completely adjudicated well on the court, and so they added these two items. This is a first for me to see a technical foul being assessed out of a game. But in an altercation, I can see the league office coming into that, and they might have termed this as a complete altercation, the entire sequence of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's a suspension now. But what I wanted to point out was this wasn't from the league a suspension of Draymond Green. It was simply another flagrant foul, of which he'd already accrued 3. And that is more of the issue, I think, is that there is leeway to, you lose your head in a minute and boom, you get a flagrant foul and it happens. But when you get to the point now where he's done it multiple times in a playoff rounds, this is the crux of the matter. So I kind of understand, had the refs just blown the darn whistle when we see this, flailing and all sorts of stuff, we wouldn't be in the situation, I guess. I understand the frustration by the Warriors, but there really isn't much you can do once you get that contact like that and you can review it like that, and they are allowed to upgrade a no call. I think it was pretty academic at that point, right?
Again, we go back to officials trying to be judicious for the game. The way to be judicious for the game is to blow the whistle, and people will respond to behavior of officials in terms of whistles being blown. They will respond because this is a very important game. All the NBA games are important, but of course the playoffs are more. And by the way, you usually get better conduct, so to speak, behavioral conduct by the players because they have more of a focus on what they have to do to win and gain notoriety and publicity and reputation and everybody's involved, from the ownership to the last guy on the team. Everybody wants to do this well for the team. So in this case, really, we let something go. It continued to be let go. And then it becomes a debacle. And here's the guys that are trying to do well for the game when they're actually taking away from the game. And I mean the officials. They are taking away from not being effective in call selectivity that they need to make. Let the players adjust. You do your job. A red light is a red light. When somebody goes through it, it's a ticket. Okay? And stay away from the yellow caution light. Look what a caution light did in the thinking. It ended up being red lights and no whistles till the very last minute.
Okay, so you were on board as far as you're going. When you're looking at this footage, you agreed that a shot to the groin area like he got, whether as he was kind of flailing to come up, that just simply that there is not much of a choice there. It has to be a flagrant.
Yeah, it has to be a flagrant. And listen, Draymond Green has done some flailing with his legs, which are very unusual. Some high kicks. I mean, he may want to come down to Radio City Music Hall. Enjoying those array of ladies across the stage with the high kicks, because I haven't seen guys flail in that manner. I've seen Malone flail with his very lumberjack arms, the Charles Oakley guys, the Rick Mahorns. I mean, I've been around some guys that really know how to use their arms and act as if they've done nothing. But he actually uses this as a way of saying, you're going to get some kind of hit back from fouling me. He's got that kind of mentality. And he needs to be addressed with it with technical fouls immediately. And I tell you, it would have gone away.
Yeah, it's a real problem when you look at the context, and we've talked about this with Draymond before, of the emotions that he plays with can come back to hurt them. And this is a real dicey situation because now they're going to play without him. And they're at home at least, but they don't take this game because of it, and now they go back to Cleveland, and maybe they don't take that game, and then all of a sudden you got a Game 7, and anything can happen. Do you think that this is at all related to the business side of the NBA being very fearful of a short series?
Oh, no, I don't think the business side I know everybody thinks about the business side of the game, that there's some kind of trickle down to the crews and what have you. The NBA has done things over the years in terms of making sure that that's not the thought of people, but it seems to always stick in. I mean, I remember years ago when I first joined the league, that they had changed the policy about getting paid per game that you did as an official. So then one would think that the officials would want the games to go longer because they'd make more money. Well, they eliminated that. When I made the playoffs, whether I had 1 game or 4 games in a round, I got paid the same money as the guy that did 4 games. And by the way, there used to be a little point of contention with the officials who said, gee, I did 4 games and I should be paid a little more money. But it hasn't happened, and I don't think it's happened today. But the idea of that is, I think, by the way, it's fortunate that Draymond Green may be out. This may extend the series on a win for Cleveland because it's fair and equitable to take him out of the game. So they could lose tonight, Golden State. And And I'm sure people would think that, yeah, they did this because of increasing the games and the TV money and all the rest. But it's really not true. If you think a certain way, people are going to think that way. But I'm here to tell you that on my years there, that is not the case.
Well, I thank you for weighing in on that and making that clear. I agree. I feel like if that was the case, we'd have 7-game series for every playoff series, every round, and that clearly hasn't happened. We've had sweeps, we've had 5-game series. I don't think that's anything they can feel like they can control anyway. So the bottom line for me was that Draymond had accrued, some mistakes that he made, and he probably owns up to that as well, where he just shouldn't have been in the situation. He knew where he was, he knew what was happening, and LeBron, it's kind of a testament to where LeBron is in his career, where he's kind of now become the instigator, right? I think he knew how many flagrant fouls he had, and in some respects, kind of like won that battle. He took a T. That's okay because he knew that Draymond was in peril and could get suspended.
Well, I will say, as an official, you are aware of one thing in particular. You don't make bad players be successful against good players. Meaning, certain people come off the bench, they change the dynamic of a game. As you get to be a real NBA official, you recognize the substitutions, what they mean, what that may mean for an offense, what that may mean for a defense. You got people in there that, for example, I remember the Bulls using 3 centers to gather fouls, let's say, against Patrick Ewing or something, and hitting. You got 18 fouls to use.
Oh yeah. Well, let's not forget Greg Kite.
Yes, there are certain people that out there that command a certain kind of physical power, and the fouls are not flagrant, but they're hard fouls. They hold a position. Every good officiating recognizes those things, and it doesn't mean that you alter the scale at all. You just know that when Dennis Rodman's in the game, he is going to do things to get 14, 15 rebounds when a couple of 3 of them may be illegal. So if that's your rebounding zone on that play, that's what you look for, the culprit that may create situations. And when you see it, you call it. And when you're not sure, you don't. So these kind of scenarios come about. I don't know if LeBron orchestrated something like this here now. For the most part, I don't see LeBron as a real provocative player. I know he flops at times for his size. I don't see him as a escalator to issues of physical play. I think he has a sportsmanship demeanor about him, and I think he's maintained it most of the time that I've seen him on the court. Draymond Green, for example, is an emotional guy who gets lost in his own behaviors, and he may not even realize sometimes what he's doing.
Right. Well, there's no question that you realize what you're doing out here, breaking this down fantastically for us. So thank you for coming in, Ronnie, to break it down and show us what a real reasonable take on what's going on and how this is going to affect Game 5. Interesting to see what's going to happen. I know I'll be watching. Are you going to watch tonight?
I'll be watching tonight, and Golden State still has a unique, talented way of winning and playing. And even with Draymond out, they can still do a lot of things, because I think the Cavaliers are probably a little down on the fact that they haven't been able to tie the series. Absolutely. So this is just basketball talk. I'm a little out of my lane, but I think it's still good basketball to watch, and we'll see what's up. NBA playoffs are always good basketball to watch, as well as the regular season.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Ronnie. And don't forget, sports fans, at BBallBreakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Ronnie?
I'm in, Coach, and glad to be here with you.